The Civil War came about over the issue of states' rights and slavery and caused the Southern states to secede from the Union. The Southern states attacked Fort Sumter and began the Civil War. The Battle of Manassas was the second conflict of the Civil War. The Confederates won and ensured the Union didn't acquire vital access to the Southern states. The Second Battle of Bull Run occurred a year later and was an attempt by the Union to take the Confederate city of Richmond, Virginia. Again, the Confederates were victorious and prevented the Union from taking the city. The Battle of Antietam was the bloodiest battle of the Civil War. While it ended in a draw, it gave Abraham Lincoln the victory he needed to issue the Emancipation Proclamation. The Battle of Gettysburg was fought from July 1st to the 3rd, 1863, around the town of Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. It was the largest battle of the Civil War and remains the largest battle ever fought in North America. 160,000 men fought in the Battle of Gettysburg, 85,000 on the Union side under Major General George Meade, and 75,000 on the Confederate side under General Robert E. Lee. While Union casualties were high at more than 23,000 men dead, wounded, or missing, the Confederates fared much worse.
General Lee's army suffered casualties of over 28,000 men, more than one-third of Lee's forces. This devastating loss of a third of the South's largest army, combined with the Confederate surrender of Vicksburg, Mississippi on July 4th, marked a major turning point in the Civil War. How did the Confederates set themselves up for such a stunning defeat? After an important victory in Chancellorsville, Virginia on May 6th, Lee decided to attempt his second invasion of the North. He hoped this would put pressure on President Lincoln to negotiate a settlement to the war. However, a key Confederate commander, Lieutenant Stonewall Jackson, had been killed by friendly fire at Chancellorsville, forcing the Army of Northern Virginia to reorganize with commanders who were unprepared and brand new to their positions. To make matters worse, Lee's cavalry leader, Major General Jeb Stuart, lost all communication with the rest of Lee's army for a full week, including the first 2 days of the 3-day Battle of Gettysburg, leaving Lee to operate blindly deep in enemy territory. On July 1st, when one of Lee's divisions followed what they thought was a small Pennsylvania emergency militia across a stream, they found themselves facing a line of Union infantry on the other side. As additional Union brigades arrived, the Confederates realized they were in for a harder time than expected. Confederate reinforcements moved in and the battle was engaged. The next day saw even heavier fighting and some of the bloodiest conflicts of the war as more Union divisions arrived and the scattered Confederates attacked the Union soldiers on two sides. On July 3rd, Lee's aggressive nature led to disaster when he ordered an attack by fewer than 15,000 troops on the enemy's center at Cemetery Ridge. The assault, known as Pickett's Charge, managed to pierce the Union lines but ultimately failed. Thousands of Confederate soldiers were wounded or killed, and Lee was forced to withdraw what remained of his army on July 4th. 4.5 months later, Abraham Lincoln delivered the Gettysburg Address, one of the best-known speeches in American history, at the dedication of the Soldiers' National Cemetery in Gettysburg.
Fourscore and 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation, or any nation so conceived and so dedicated, can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who here gave their lives that that nation might live.
In a 2-minute address that would endure as one of the most revered speeches in our country's history, Lincoln honored the dead and reminded listeners of the Union's goal in fighting the war and of the purpose of the soldiers' sacrifice: equality, freedom, and national unity.
That we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth.